First story. I neglected my sons for my new family. I ditched my younger son's graduation party for my stepdaughter and told him to move on like he did when I didn't attend his 18th birthday. Now both my kids have abandoned me, and I'm regretting my actions. Throwaway account for privacy. I have two sons, Josh 20 and Ben 18, from my first marriage. Their mom Kim and I divorced about 7 years ago. It wasn't a messy divorce, but things between us have been cold since, mostly just parallel parenting and exchanging necessary info. We were young when we had Josh, and by the time Ben was 10, our marriage was already crumbling. A year after the divorce, I met Laura. She had a daughter, Sophie, who was around 6 at the time. We didn't rush things with the kids, but by the time Sophie turned 7, I was living with Laura full-time and helping raise her. She's 12 now. I've been in her life for most of her formative years, and I genuinely love her like my own. That's where the tension starts. Josh has always been the quieter one. He's polite but very observant, and I think he started pulling back emotionally when he saw how serious I got with Laura. Ben, on the other hand, is more direct. He doesn't hide it when he's pissed. There were a few comments over the years that hinted at their resentment, mostly subtle stuff like, "Glad you could make it," or "Guess Sophie had nothing going on today," when I showed up to their school things. At the time, I thought it was just teenage sarcasm. Now I'm not so sure. It didn't help that I live a little over an hour away. I moved after the divorce to be with Laura and start fresh. I've always tried to stay consistent weekends, alternating holidays, going to school events when possible. But the truth is, I've missed a few things. I missed Ben's 18th birthday dinner earlier this year because of a work meeting I couldn't move. I FaceTimed him, promised we'd celebrate another day, and sent him a gift. He didn't say much, just, "Thanks," and that was it. Josh called me later that night and said I should have made the effort to be there, even if just for an hour. It's not like I've never missed anything for Sophie. Either I've missed one or two things when my boys had major stuff. But when I show up for Sophie, it seems like my sons see it as choosing her. I don't think they understand that I'm trying to balance two families, and I'm doing my best. Fast forward to this summer. Ben graduated in June. I went to the ceremony. I was there early, brought flowers, and stayed after to take photos with him, Josh, and even Kim. Everything seemed okay. Kim was civil, and Josh gave me a pat on the back. Ben was quiet, but that's just how he is sometimes. I thought things were going okay. About a month later, Laura and I were planning Sophie's birthday party. She was turning 12, and this was the first time she really wanted a big kid party, her words. She invited a bunch of friends, and we were doing decorations, a bounce house, outdoor games, and cake. She was genuinely excited, and she specifically asked me to be there the whole time. Here's where it gets messy. Ben's graduation party ended up being scheduled for the same day. I didn't find out until a couple of weeks before, when Josh texted me the invitation. It was being hosted at Kim's house from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. Sophie's party was already set for 4 to 6 p.m. in our backyard. I immediately felt stuck. I called Ben and explained the situation. I told him I'd try to stop by after Sophie's party ended, that I really wanted to see him and celebrate with him. He didn't say much, just kind of paused and then said, "Okay," then hung up. I could tell he wasn't happy. Josh called me later that night and asked if I was seriously going to skip the full party. I said I wasn't skipping, just showing up a bit later. He sighed and said, "It's always something with you, man. Always Sophie first." That hit a nerve. I told him that wasn't fair, and he said, "You've missed enough of our stuff. At least show up for this one." Laura saw I was stressed and actually told me I should go. She said Sophie would understand and that I could show up at Ben's party on time, maybe leave Sophie's a little early, or just go after. But when I brought that up to Sophie, she looked genuinely upset. She said, "But you promised you'd be there the whole time." It wasn't a tantrum, it was just disappointment. She's a good kid, and she's used to sharing me with a lot of people. I didn't want her to feel like she was second to my real kids. She's had other people leave her before. I told her I'd stay, and I meant it. The plan was to help with the party from the start, then leave at around 6 and make it to Ben's by 7 for the last stretch. I figured I'd catch the cake and maybe even stick around after most people left. That way I could have someone on one time with Ben. But things didn't go that way. We had a ton of kids over. Laura needed help with the grill, drinks, and games. It was way more hectic than I expected. I was running around dealing with trash bags, fixing a broken chair, and trying to keep the little ones from tearing up the yard. Time flew. Next thing I knew, it was 6:05. Then 6:20, and I still hadn't showered or changed, and I was over an hour away from Ben's party. I started feeling that pit in my stomach. I asked Laura what I should do. She looked at me and said, "You're not going to make it in time. You should call him now. I knew she was right. I felt like SHT. Sophie was glowing, happy, and surrounded by friends. Meanwhile, my other son was probably scanning the door for me and slowly realizing I wasn't coming. I called Ben around 6:30, and as soon as he picked up, I knew I messed up badly. He sounded irritated right off the bat. I told him I was sorry, that I lost track of time, and wouldn't be able to make it to the party. There was a long pause. Then he asked, "Are you serious right now?" I told him I really tried, but things got hectic, and I thought coming by the next day would be okay. He didn't buy it. He said, "You always do this. You always put her first. Every single time." I told him that wasn't true, that I had been at his graduation ceremony, that I made the effort. He snapped back. "You missed my 18th birthday, and now my graduation party. You act like showing up once makes up for everything you miss." I said I understood he was angry, and that I'd be there first thing in the morning to see him. That's when he told me not to bother. Said I clearly made my choice, and I could stick with it. Then he hung up. I tried calling back. No answer. Texted him, no reply. 10 minutes later, Josh called me. He didn't yell, but he didn't mince words either. "What the hell, man? You seriously skipped his party for a 12-year-old's birthday?" I said it wasn't about that, it was bad timing. I was helping Laura manage the party, and things ran over. He didn't care. He said it wasn't about time. It was about priorities, and mine have been clear for a while. He told me Ben left his own party early. He didn't say goodbye to anyone. Just walked out and went to his room. Kim was apparently furious too, because she texted me after that, saying, "You should be ashamed of yourself." Laura felt bad. She told me again that she originally said I should go, and maybe I should have listened. But at that point, what could I do? I already screwed it up. I gave Ben a day and tried again the next afternoon. No answer. I called Josh, and he just said, "He doesn't want to talk to you. Neither do I right now." Then hung up. That was 2 weeks ago. I've sent texts to both of them, no response. I sent Ben a message apologizing again, and saying I didn't mean to hurt him. That Sophie isn't more important, that I just got overwhelmed and didn't handle the day right. Still nothing. Kim hasn't said much else beyond that one message, but I know she's feeding into it. She's never liked Laura, never accepted Sophie, and always thought I'd start playing house with a new family. I guess this confirmed her narrative. Laura's been supportive, but she's been quiet too. She knows I messed up. Sophie hasn't asked about it, but I think she could tell I was stressed the night of the party. She asked once, "Is Ben mad?" I just told her, "Yeah, a little." I've gone over it in my head 100 times. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I wasn't trying to choose between my kids. I just thought wrongly that showing up the next day would still matter. I thought being at the ceremony meant something. I thought they'd understand how hard I've tried to juggle both families. But now I'm not so sure any of that matters to them. Josh says this isn't about one party. It's about a pattern. That even if I think I'm being fair, they've spent years feeling like I've downgraded them from priority to obligation. I've always thought I was doing enough texting, calling, showing up when I could, splitting holidays. But maybe I've been blind to how it's felt on their end. The reality is I live with Sophie. I see her every day. I help with homework, drive her to practice, and put up her birthday decorations. My sons are adults now, living their own lives, and I don't get the same day-to-day with them. Maybe from their view, it looks like I traded them in for a new family. Still, I've never thought of them as less. I still see them as my kids. I've tried to balance both sides without making anyone feel second, but I guess I failed. I don't know if missing Ben's party was the breaking point, or just the latest hit in a long list I didn't realize I was building. Now both of them have cut me off. I've asked myself what I would have done differently. Maybe I should have left Sophie's party an hour in, driven to Ben's, and driven back late. Maybe I should have planned something different with Sophie, or had her party on another day. But it's all hindsight now. At the time, I thought I was making a fair call. Stay for one, and go to the other after. I never planned on missing it completely. I didn't flake to relax or bail for no reason. But maybe that doesn't matter. I'm starting to wonder if I've already damaged the relationship with my sons beyond repair, and if missing that one event was just the final nail. I keep thinking maybe I underestimated how important this was for Ben, and how visible my absence was. Everyone else was there, Kim's side, friends, cousins, and I was the only parent not there. It probably felt like a slap in the face. Josh told me straight up that if I don't fix this now, there might not be another chance. But I don't know how to fix it if they won't even talk to me. So, Reddit, Ada. Comments. Comment 1. I'm going to be blunt, YTA. You didn't just miss a party. You missed the moment your son needed you to stand in the front row and say, I see you. I'm proud of you. You live with Sophie. She gets 365 days of you. Ben gets what weekends and maybe a few dinners. You knew the timing was tight. You knew it. So why didn't you plan to show up for the last hour no matter what? You say you got caught up helping your wife, but that's the problem. You put yourself in a situation where she became the priority again. And for the record, I don't think you're a bad dad. I think you're a stretched too thin dad who doesn't realize he's already lost ground. Your sons don't think you're trying. They think you stopped choosing them. And once your kids start feeling like an option instead of a priority, that damage is deep. This isn't about Sophie. It's about a pattern they've been clocking for years. You just finally confirmed what they've been scared of, that they're not first anymore. You better fix this while there's still something left to salvage. Comment 2. YTA. And I'm saying this as a stepmom who really loves her stepkids. You put work over Ben's 18th. Then you put Sophie over his graduation. That's 2 strikes on 2 major rites of passage. You say you thought he'd understand, but why should he? He only gets one 18th birthday, one graduation party, one chance for his dad to show up without needing a reminder. Sophie lives with you. You see her every damn day. You could have celebrated her earlier. Or the next day. She's got birthdays ahead. Ben doesn't get a redo. And let's not pretend Sophie doesn't benefit here either. She got her way. She asked you to stay, and you did, knowing full well what you were missing. Don't dump this on timing or things got hectic. You made a choice, and it wasn't a neutral one. The saddest part? It sounds like Ben's finally done. He told you not to come. He didn't want to talk. He walked out of his own party. He didn't just feel forgotten, he felt replaced. And now, the people closest to you, Ben, Josh, Kim, even Laura, are all pointing at the same issue. Maybe stop defending it and ask why, before there's nothing left to fix. Comment 3. I'm not going to scream YTA because this isn't a one-day screw-up. It's a long-term emotional neglect that you're only now waking up to. You keep saying, I've tried. But the results tell a different story. Your sons are telling you they feel replaced, sidelined, and emotionally abandoned. That's not fixed by showing up once every few months and calling it even. Think about what Ben saw. A backyard party for a 12-year-old with cake and a bounce house was more important than his milestone. That's how it reads emotionally. It doesn't matter if your intent was good emotionally, you failed. And let's not let your wife off the hook either. She told you to go, but you chose to stay. That's on you, but it's also telling. Are you actually getting support balancing these 2 families? Or is it easier to just go along with the day-to-day and hope your sons will understand someday? Someday doesn't come. Your window is closing. You need real conversations, maybe even family therapy. Stop texting. Show up. Stand at the door if you have to. But don't assume one more apology will do it. Update. It's been a few weeks. I've reached out to both Ben and Josh several times. No response. I texted, called, and even emailed. I apologized again and told them I wanted to make it right. But it's like I don't exist to them anymore. Not even a leave me alone. Total silence. I tried calling Kim, my ex, to ask if she could talk to Ben, just to help me open the door a little. She didn't even let me finish the sentence. She said, "Don't use me to fix what you broke," and hung up. The next day, I got a long text from her saying if I keep trying to force a conversation through her or Josh, she'll block me permanently and call it harassment. I didn't want to escalate things, so I backed off. But I thought maybe if I reached out to Ben directly in a different way, it might land better. So, I put together a slideshow. Yeah, I know how that sounds. I just thought it might help show him how much I care. Old photos from when he was a kid, a few videos, and little messages saying how proud I've always been of him. It took a couple nights to make. I sent it with a message saying I knew I messed up, and that even if he didn't want to talk now, I'd always be here. No response. A week later, I got a Venmo request from Ben. It was for $29.99, cents, the exact amount of the digital photo frame I'd shipped the slideshow on. The note said, "Don't need this." That hit me like a brick. Still, I tried to let it go and focus on moving forward. Thanksgiving was coming up, and I figured I'd invite them, both of them. I sent the invite out in a group text. Said we'd love to have them, even just for dessert, no pressure. I told Laura about it, and she just said, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Neither Josh nor Ben responded. That night, Josh posted a photo on Instagram of him and Ben at Kim's house, big family dinner, people smiling, captioned, "Grateful for real ones." It stung. Later that week, I drove down to Ben's college. I wasn't trying to ambush him, I just wanted to drop off a letter and a care package. I figured maybe seeing me would help break the ice. I stood outside his apartment for maybe 15 minutes and knocked a couple of times. Lights were on. No one answered. I left the box at the door and drove home. 3 days later, I got an email from the housing office saying students had reported apparent loitering and asked that all non-approved visitors schedule in advance. That could have only come from Ben. Then came the tuition mess. I had promised to cover Ben's fall semester. That was the agreement. I'd take care of tuition, while Kim helped with living expenses. I've done it for both boys since the divorce. But work got hectic. I was traveling for a last-minute project, and I missed the deadline. I totally forgot to process the payment until the school emailed me saying there'd be a late fee and Ben's account was on hold. I paid it the same day, but the damage was done. That night, Josh texted me for the first time in over a month. All it said was, "You can't even show up when it's your one effing job." Then he blocked me. I haven't heard from Ben. I don't think I will. Sophie asked me last week if Ben hates me. I said no, but she didn't look convinced. She's not dumb. She knows things are off. I tried telling her Ben was just busy with school. Laura gave me a look, but didn't say anything. Later that night, she told me I needed to stop lying to our daughter and stop hiding behind her like a shield. That turned into a whole argument. She told me I used Sophie as an emotional excuse, that I convinced myself staying for her birthday made me a good dad, when really, it just let me avoid doing the hard thing, disappointing her in order to be there for Ben. She said I've been selfish, not for loving Sophie, but for refusing to admit I made a choice and hurt people in the process. I told her she wasn't being fair. Sophie's more sensitive than the boys ever were. She's attached. She still comes to me crying if she has a rough day at school. I can't just walk away from that. Laura said, "That's the problem. You still think they're boys. They're not. They were your kids. Now they're two young men who decided they're done being an afterthought." That was hard to hear. She's been distant since. Not cold, but quiet. There's tension in the house now. Sophie notices it. I know people are going to say this is all my fault. And maybe it is. But I've tried. I've called. I've emailed. I've apologized. I showed up to Ben's graduation. I offered to talk, sent gifts, and even went to his school. I'm working 50+ hours a week, trying to be present at home, and I slipped on one tuition deadline one. I've never missed before. I don't know what else I can do. Josh doesn't speak to me. Ben blocked me. Kim won't engage. Laura's barely talking, and Sophie's starting to ask questions I can't answer without hurting her. I'm not saying I handled things perfectly, but I feel like I've been written off without a chance. People keep saying I chose Sophie, but no one talks about how hard I've tried to hold everything together. I've never stopped loving my sons. I just don't know how to prove that to people who have already decided I don't. That's where things are. I don't even know if there's a point in trying anymore. But part of me still hopes something will crack, and I'll get a message from Ben, even if it's just to cuss me out. At least it'd mean he still cares enough to be angry. Right now, I feel like I don't even exist to them. Comments. Comment 1. Let me break this down from the perspective of someone who was Ben and Josh. Your sons aren't angry. They're disappointed and tired. That's way worse. When you showed up at Ben's dorm unannounced, I guarantee he stood behind that door listening to you knock. And I guarantee it hurt him to not open it. Kids don't block their dads because they're indifferent. They block them because trying again is more painful than silence. The Venmo thing. That wasn't cruelty. That was self-respect. He doesn't want gifts or memories or proof you care. He wants consistency, something you haven't given him in years. And the tuition thing. Dude, come on. That is the one area where divorced dads usually try to overcompensate. It's the easiest way to show support. You didn't just miss the deadline, you reinforced exactly what he already believed. He can't rely on you. And you keep mentioning work. Let me tell you something harsh but true. When you repeatedly say, "I was busy, kids here," you weren't worth the effort. You keep saying Sophie is more attached. Yeah, of course she is. She had you daily. Your sons had you on the calendar. Stop acting like this is some tragedy happening to you. This is the result of a long list of decisions you made that told your sons they were optional. You don't fix that with a care package or a holiday invite. You fix that by shutting up about your intentions and listening to the damage. YTA and right now. You're the only person who doesn't seem to understand why. Comment 2. I'm not going to soft pedal at YTA, but not for the reasons you think. Your biggest problem isn't that you messed up. It's that you keep deciding which of your children's emotions are more legitimate. You keep talking about how sensitive Sophie is, like Ben and Josh don't get to have emotional needs because they're older and male. Guess what? Boys don't stop needing their parents at 18. They just stop showing it. And honestly, the fact you brought up Sophie crying after a rough day as justification for blowing off Ben's milestone is Not great. You can love Sophie without turning her into your emotional crutch. Because whether you see it or not, that's what you've done. And Laura? She's fed up with watching you craft this narrative, where you're the victim of circumstance, instead of the architect of your own mess. Her silence isn't support, it's exhaustion. It's telling that every woman in your life, your ex, your current wife, and even your daughter is reacting to your behavior, not the boys. They see the pattern. They see how you prioritize the family in front of you, then get shocked when the ones further away stop chasing your attention. Your sons didn't go, no contact, out of nowhere. They finally accepted the truth. You don't make space for them unless it fits your schedule. Do better. Not with more gifts or cringe slideshows. With accountability. Real, uncomfortable accountability. Update. It's been almost a year. I didn't think things could get worse after the tuition mess and being ignored through Thanksgiving. But they did. Honestly, it feels like everything in my life has been shrinking: my relationship with my sons, my marriage, my home, even how my daughter looks at me. It's like the walls are closing in. The first major blow came from Sophie. She found the slideshow. I had put it in the closet of my office. Sophie must have been looking for something for school, because she brought it out one afternoon and asked, "What's this?" I didn't think it would matter, so I let her watch it. I didn't expect it to hit her the way it did. She watched maybe a minute before she started crying. She asked, "Why doesn't Ben love me? Why doesn't he come here anymore?" She said it like she did something wrong. I didn't know what to say. I told her Ben loved her. He was just busy. She told me I always say that, and she knows I'm lying. Laura heard everything from the hallway. Later that night, she confronted me. She said I should have thrown the frame away instead of keeping it like some shrine to my failures. She said Sophie already feels the tension, and that I'm making her think she's the reason her brothers disappeared. I snapped back that she wasn't doing anything to help, that she was letting the house fall into chaos. That started our first real fight in years. I raised my voice. She raised hers. I don't even remember half of what I said. I do know she told me I needed therapy again. I told her she needed to stop trying to psychologize me. It was ugly. The next morning, she wouldn't talk to me. Sophie wouldn't look at me. That's when I realized I yelled at her the night before too, not full on screaming, but sharper than she deserved. I apologized, but she slid away from me like I was a stranger. And that hasn't changed since. She went from being attached to me, always excited when I got home, to barely speaking unless she has to. She stays in her room more. She goes to Laura for everything. I lost my sons years ago without realizing it. Now I'm losing my daughter in real time and can't stop it. Then came Josh's engagement. I had no idea he was even dating someone seriously. A relative of mine posted pictures and engagement dinner, a nice restaurant, Josh and his fiancée smiling, and Ben standing next to him. My sons looked grown up, confident, comfortable, and they weren't alone. Kim was there. Her parents were there. Even some of my extended family attended and said nothing to me. There was no invitation, no text, not even a courtesy call. I didn't say anything to Josh, but I stared at those photos for a long time. It felt like the final confirmation that I wasn't even on the periphery of their lives anymore. I was completely out. I didn't show the photos to Laura or Sophie. I didn't want to hear Laura's reaction, and I didn't want Sophie thinking it was somehow her fault. A week after that, I got a call from my sister. She said she ran into Ben at the grocery store and tried to bring up the tension, thinking maybe she could help. Ben told her he didn't want to hear my name again. That he's done trying to have a dad. That the last few years made it clear where I stand. Hearing it from a third party hit harder than hearing it myself. There was no anger in her voice, just pity. And then, the biggest hit of all. I found out Ben graduated early from college. He pushed through his final credits and finished ahead of schedule. I saw the pictures online. Same story, smiling, surrounded by people I barely talk to anymore. Kim, Josh, their cousins. People I grew up with. Nobody told me. Nobody even thought to tell me. I didn't get to see him walk. I didn't get to congratulate him. I didn't get a seat in the crowd. I didn't even get the chance to be rejected again. The message was clear. I'm not a parent to them. Not even a backup one. After that, something in me cracked. I started getting short with Laura over small things. Snapping about chores, the house, bills, whatever. I stopped sleeping well. I started pacing at night. I'd catch myself rehearsing conversations with Ben or Josh, imagining them yelling at me or telling me off. Sometimes I'd imagine them forgiving me. Those hit harder. Laura tried talking to me one night. She sat down at the table and said, "I don't know how much more I can do. You're drowning, and you're pulling us under too." I told her I just needed time. She said she's been giving me years of time. Then she said the words I never thought she'd say. I don't know what's left of our marriage anymore. She said the only reason she hasn't packed a bag is because she's scared of what leaving would do to Sophie, that she doesn't trust me to be stable for her. That cut deeper than anything my sons have said. And she's right. The house is quiet now. Sophie barely speaks. Laura avoids me unless she has to. I can feel the resentment radiating from every corner of the place. Sometimes, late at night, I sit on the couch and think about everything that's happened. Everything I screwed up. Everything I missed. Everything I justified. And the darkest thought hit me last week. If I died tomorrow, I don't think my sons would even come to my funeral. I don't think Laura would cry. I don't think Sophie would feel anything but confusion. I used to think I was a good dad who made a few mistakes. Now I'm scared I'm just the man who slowly burned down his entire family and didn't realize the house was on fire until everyone else had already run out. I don't know what's left to salvage. I don't even know if I deserve the chance. That's where things are. I don't think this is just losing my sons anymore. I think this is losing everything. And I don't know if I can ever claw my way back from this. Comments. Comment 1. Look, I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. I don't think you ever really understood what parenting is. You talk like a man who believes that being sorry should fix years of showing up late emotionally and literally. You're obsessed with trying. I tried to visit. I tried to send a frame. I tried to call. Dude, your sons don't want effort. They want presence. Not just physical, emotional presence. And they haven't had that in a long time. And let's talk about Sophie. It's not her fault, but man, you clung to her like a life raft. You turned her into a justification, a shield, even a replacement. You told yourself that loving her made you a good dad, even as you let your other two drift out to sea. And now, she's scared of you. And your wife? She's still there, sure, but only because leaving would break your daughter more than she already is. You didn't lose your family in one blow. You slowly walked them to the edge and watched them climb down, then got shocked when you looked around and found yourself alone. No offense, man. But I don't think they'll be at your funeral either. You already buried the relationship. All that's left now is the grave. Comment 2. You're not misunderstood. You're not some tragic character. You're a man who refused to listen when it counted, and now wants applause for the noise he's making in the aftermath. You lost your sons. You're losing your wife. You've already lost your daughter. She's just still physically in the house. Emotionally, she's gone, man. And if you don't think she'll remember the shouting, the cold silences, the tension, you're fooling yourself. You're the ghost in your own story. You're haunting a life you didn't show up for. And now that everyone else has moved on, you're mad that they don't come back for you. And let me say this clearly, that they won't even come to my funeral line. That's not deep. That's not some powerful insight. That's self-pity trying to sound poetic. You want your kids at your funeral. Be the kind of man they'd want to mourn. Comment 3. Let me put this in clinical terms. What you're experiencing is relational collapse. This isn't about one mistake. It's about the cumulative effect of years of emotional neglect, priority mismanagement, and unchecked ego. You see Sophie as your redemption arc. That's dangerous. She was the last person in the house who still looked at you with love, and now that's fading away and you're panicking. But look at what you've done. You turned a 12-year-old's birthday into a moral high ground. You expected Ben to wait around for you. You treated Josh's engagement as some snub instead of a clear boundary. You even yelled at your daughter and then asked us to understand your pain. This is textbook deflection. You don't want repair. You want relief from the consequences of your own decisions. The only thing I agree with. Your final thought. If you died tomorrow, they wouldn't show up. Not because they don't care, but because they've already mourned the version of you they needed, and he never came back. Get real therapy. Stop writing apologies no one reads. And don't expect forgiveness until you've learned how to stop making everything about you. Second story. My delusional daughter got knocked up at 16 and wants me to raise her baby because I'm experienced and had help. So I gave her a reality check and said she is a disappointment. I have a plan, money, and a husband who doesn't bail on me. Then I forced her to quit school, get a job, and support her baby, and threatened to call CPS if she neglects. I and my husband are in our late 30s and early 40s. He has a kid from a previous relationship, who we will call Abby. She's 16 and pregnant. From my understanding of the whole situation, it's her boyfriend who's 18 and in college and is refusing to answer her calls. She wants to keep the baby, but thinks everyone is going to bend over backwards for her to do so. Everyone has told her multiple times that they aren't going to help her, and that she will be on her own. I and Abby have a decent relationship. I met her 3 years ago when she was 14, and we have a civil relationship. She has a mum, so I'm just dad's wife to her mainly. Recently, she's been getting closer to me and trying to talk to me more, which was weird because normally when she does that she wants something. After around a week, she got tired and told me what she wanted. She wants me to watch her kid during the day while she's in school. I told her no, as I have my own 2 kids I have to watch twins. She got upset and said she doesn't understand why, when I had my kid, people offered to help and did things for me. And now that she's pregnant, no one wants to help her and is making her do everything herself. I explained to her that my kids were rainbow babies and a lot of people knew we struggled with fertility, and that I and her dad are adults and we had a plan, money, and a happy home for our kids, and she has none of that. I explained that nobody is going to help her because she got herself here, and she's going to have to act like an adult if she wants to keep her kid. She kept screaming and saying stuff about how it's unfair, and we need to support her, and she needs help and a lot of other stuff. I told her to go to someone else because no one in her family is going to help her, and she got mad and kept yelling about the same thing. I told her to leave me alone, and she didn't and went on talking about her life, and how this pregnancy is making her parents and friends distant, and how it's not fair. I eventually got tired of her and told her that her mum thinks she's a disappointment, and that no one has to help her because she got herself here. If she wants help, she should ask the father. And if she can't ask him, then she should ask his family or something because no one is going to help her the way she expects them to. She got mad and told her dad what I said. He got upset and said that it was too far, and even if it's right, I shouldn't have said that. So Ada, note, she has a late birthday, so that's why it's a 16 to 18 age gap. She turned 17 in November. The reason I told her what her mum thinks is because she was complaining about how her mum doesn't want her at the house. And yes, her mum has told her before that she is a disappointment. Edit. A lot of you are under the assumption that no one told her the options. They have multiple times. She is choosing to keep this kid. I and her dad told her that if she wants this kid, she will need to get a job. And we told her how much it will cost to raise that kid. She just says okay and moves on. Another thing is her parents do not know where his parents are. They have moved as they no longer feel the need to live in the school district. The boy is over 14 hours away at college, and it seems the only way to contact him is to see him. And neither I nor his dad is driving 14 hours away. Comments. Commenter 1. That was really direct of you. Does your stepdaughter understand what goes into raising and caring for a child? How has she been with your twins? OP, no, she doesn't. She feels that everyone else will take care of her kid while she's in school. She's not really around them. She may hold one for a little while and then give her back. Commenter 2. Is she open to adopting the baby? OP, no, she wants to keep it. Commenter 3. You, her father, and her mother should all be encouraging her to get an abortion. OP, we can't force her to get one. We can encourage her, but no one can force her. Commenter 4. How many weeks is she, and are you in a place where abortion is accessible? The job of all the responsible adults around her, primarily her 2 actual parents though, is to lovingly encourage abortion up until the moment it's not a viable option anymore. I say, lovingly encourage, because she is more likely to be receptive to advice framed in that way. But that constantly reminds her about the life she is giving up if she chooses to become a teenage mother. OP 13-16 weeks. We have abortion here, but it's only up to a certain point here, and she is past that point. Her mum is willing to take her anywhere to get an abortion, though. Commenter 5. While it was harsh, she needs to step up and take some responsibility here. She can get a job to help pay for childcare, diapers, and formula. Her boyfriend baby daddy can get a job too. She needs to figure out stuff now, not demand it before the baby gets here. If she is always that demanding, that is why people are stepping back from her. Is there a part for you, husband, that Abby's mum is willing to help with? If she lives with you, I set very clear boundaries and rules for what is and isn't going to happen. Midnight feedings are all her and her boyfriend's job, etc. OP. Her dad is buying her a car, and he's willing to help. Her mum doesn't even want her at home, so I don't think she's willing. The most right now I'm willing to do is take her to her job that she does not have. Commenter 6. Has anyone sat down with her and actually discussed her options? It doesn't sound like it. If she isn't going to have any help with finances and childcare, she needs to either get an abortion, let the baby be adopted, or contact whatever social services are available where you are to start making a plan to become independent. YTA for being so effing harsh either way. This child needs at least one adult in her corner to help. That doesn't mean raising the kid for her, but it does mean helping her make a lot of extremely difficult decisions in a very short amount of time, without placing blame or judging her. OP, yes, her mom and dad did. She wants to keep the kid. She doesn't want an abortion or to let the baby be adopted. Commenter 7. Is she at least getting prenatal care? Or is she being failed there too? I only ask because if she isn't being cared for medically, then neither is the baby. The baby is innocent in this. Do you and Dad plan on having a relationship with your grandchild? I agree that she is not realistic about a lot of things about being a teen mom. Has anyone sat down with her, with material from the internet or another knowledgeable place, and explained to her without being mad, without conveying disappointment, without threats or yelling, without snarkiness or pettiness from either side, and really, truly told her what she's in for? I agree she needs a reality check. I mean, of course she does. She's 16. Just don't punish your grandchild. At some point, the baby will be born. A baby full of love and devoid of fault. I'm not giving a judgment just yet because I want to see if OP answers my questions. OP, yes, she does have access to prenatal care. I don't know if Dad wants a relationship with the kid. Yes, everyone has talked to her about it without being petty. And it's like she thinks we're lying or going to do it for her. So we'll just say okay and move on. Top comments. Commenter 8. Seems like her father needs to contact the college student's parents. Get lawyers involved for child support. He can get a job. He shouldn't get off scot-free. Commenter 9. Refusing to take care of her child while she's at school is entirely within your rights. Helping her find daycare should be your concern as an adult. Telling her that you deserve help because your babies were wanted and hers isn't as literally telling her that her baby is worth less than yours. You can be certain that's how she heard it. Commenter 10. You are both TA and NTA. You are NTA for standing up to her, giving her a reality check and forming boundaries with her. Her expectations are what they are, and she needs to take responsibility. That's all true. However, you are also a big TA. First of all, the way you talk to her is wrong. The fact that you told her what her mother thinks is a big TA moment. It should be her mother to say these things, not you. The way you spoke to her is also just bad. You should have been more gentle. The message you sent was good, but the way you sent that message is just poor and bad. You, the father, and the mom, all three, should have a real talk with her and explain to her how things work and why everyone is distancing themselves from her. You should help her to some degree, but not to what she's been asking so far as the potential grandparents. But that's it. TLDR. Not the RC hole for the message, but the RC hole for how it was delivered, and for telling her what her mother might think. Update. Hello all, I am back with an update. But I do want to apologize for this update being late. My twins and I got sick, so it has just been a lot. So after I posted this post, I took some advice from the post and talked with my husband. We had a long talk about what we were and weren't going to help her with, and what all she needed to do. So we sat down, and in summary we told her that if she wanted to continue at a real school, then she would need to figure out childcare, as I won't keep her kid. We told her she needs a job and to look for resources for her and her baby. My husband told her she's financially cut off until she finds a job, and that she will only get gas money. We have agreed to watch the kid on the weekends while she works. We have also told her that if she fails to take care of her baby to the point of neglect, we will call CPS on her. The last main thing I can think of that we told her was that as long as she tries, we will help her with the baby's necessities, and that we don't mind helping with that if she needs it. After we told her that, she mainly asked why I wouldn't watch her baby while she went to school. And I just explained that I'm not going to deal with 3 little kids every day, especially with one being a baby. She didn't understand and tried to argue with me about it. But we did tell her that if she stays in school, she may have to repeat a year or go to summer school, as at the time she would give birth, it would be finals, and she would have to go to summer school. I did apologize to her for telling her the comment I made about her mother, and she also apologized to me. Right now, she still doesn't have a job, but she has an interview, so that's good. Her dad's just happy she's trying. Note: I want to address a few comments. One main comment I saw was a lot of people thought we would kick her out. No, she's still a kid and a minor, and even when she's 18, we will still keep her in the house. The next thing was the rainbow baby comment. She asked why I got help, and her version of help right now is that stuff was bought for my babies, and that people came in town when they were born to help with them. So I explained that they are rainbow babies. That's why we got so many clothes and people came to see them, because these were probably the only kids I will ever have. And they probably won't do it for her, as they have more traditional values and don't even support her or try to help her now. So I doubt they will when a baby comes. I will try to answer any questions I can. Edit. I had a typo that made people think she was being made to continue to regular school. She is not. She wants to stay in regular school. A lot of you don't know what I mean by financially cut off. She will only get her needs and nothing more. If she wants to go out to lunch with friends, she will have to pay for that. He is no longer just handing her money to do what she wants. Again, she will still get anything she needs, just not once. Comments. Commenter 1. Where is her mother in all of this? Can't she live with her mother? OP. Her mother is still not talking to her until she gets an abortion. Commenter 2. There are plenty of online schools she can attend. I still think you're being awfully harsh. You're behaving like an evil stepmother, and I honestly hate you. Cold, cruel, and completely judgmental. As a mother myself, I already don't like you. In fact, if I were your mother, I would be completely ashamed and disappointed in you for how you are treating this poor girl. Yes, things will be hard, but threatening CPS on her? That's crossing a line, IMO. What do you mean by cutting her off financially? She is still a minor, and her father is still legally obligated to provide for her. What does he think? That pregnancy suddenly makes a girl into a full-grown adult. You and your husband are awful. Why hasn't the boy been found and contacted? What steps has your husband taken to find him and make him take responsibility for his part in donating the sperm? It takes two to tango, and that boy needs to step up, too. OP. When I say cutting her off financially, my husband gives her an allowance every month to get stuff she wants. So it may be like $100. But when she goes out, she will always ask for more money. So he may give her around $250 a month. He will no longer be doing that and only paying for her gas and things she needs. He is still deciding what to do about the boy. Yes, we will call CPS if she decides that instead of taking care of her kid, she wants to go to a party. We will call CPS if she neglects her kid. Also, she wants to stay in regular school. No one is making her. Commenter 3. She's 16. Is this really the best way to handle the situation? I don't understand why she's being encouraged to get a job rather than go to school if she's still a child. She needs to finish school. What am I missing? Also, it's not realistic to cut her off financially until she gets a job. She's a child. Where else is she going to get the money from? She is still a dependent, and your husband is still her guardian. Honestly, you should call CPS, not as a threat, because they can help if you can't care for a pregnant minor. CPS will be able to help with advice and resources. Her school should be able to help too. OP. She needs a part-time job so she can provide for her baby. We are not going to pay for everything for her kid. She will have to pay for it. We cut her off financially, as we are only paying for gas and things she needs. She will have to get a job to pay for the rest. Commenter 4. I don't understand why nobody seems to have an issue with a college boy getting a teenager pregnant. If she's 16 now, she may have been 15 when he got her pregnant. Even if she was 16, isn't she still a minor? What are the ages for statutory SAW in your state? The boy may deserve worse consequences than just paying some child support, much less getting off scot-free and going on to do this to others. OP. My stepdaughter just turned 17. She has a late birthday, so when they met and were dating, they were 16 and 17. He turned 18 earlier this year, and she just turned 17. Commenter 5. NTA, you do know that baby is going to be dumped on you no matter what your husband and your stepdaughter say. I think that she thinks having this baby will make the father be with her. I don't think she has intentions of taking care of this baby. I would be so angry at the 18-year-old boyfriend. What are you going to do when your husband dumps all the responsibility of this baby on you? OP. I have already told him should that happen, I will take her kid to a hospital or fire station, as I will not be taking care of 3 little kids. Top comments. Commenter 6. I'm glad you apologized. But I still see nothing being done to find the dad. She didn't do this alone, and if she was getting child support, it would take a little bit of the burden off of y'all as well as her. Could also pay for childcare. Find the guy. Commenter 7. She needs to do online school while she takes care of her baby. Help her with transitioning to that. Also, help her find resources to help her. And do more to find the dad's parents. Look them up online, find their social media, and track down the father. Help her file child support paperwork. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.